readers, our viewers are always intensely curious about what areas have potential, what areas are potential bargains. It's always a topic of speculation. Care to speculate?
I would speculate to the extent that I would say, if you're approaching the purchase of a piece of property based on what you are looking for it to be worth in the future, then stick to that criteria. Look at the historical perspective that you can get from a realtor about the area that you're looking to buy in, and make a decision. How risk tolerant are you? Are you, do you want to really throw the dice and take a flyer on something and with a huge upside?
Let's say I do. Where would I buy?
Anywhere that's on the periphery of development today, in any marketplace, and maybe try to find out more about a community, and when you narrow that down, what are the plans for that community going forward? What kind of interest do retailers have there? What's the demographic? We've had an agent who worked for us who was very consistent about looking for investment property based on where Trader Joe's went. Why? Because he had a background that gave him an insight into how Trader Joe's identifies the demographic for a marketplace. And
not a bad strategy.
Follow the Starbucks. But in Chicago, follow the trains. Follow the expressways. And I think in light of energy prices today, definitely follow public transportation, because in general there's going to be a little bit more value there.
A lot of Chicagoans are going to be moving on to the suburbs.
I don't think so. I think actually that you're going to see a migration back closer to the city core. You're definitely, I believe, going to see people focus more and more on living closer to where they work, wherever that is. Because the cost of transportation, and both in terms of the dollars that you spend to get to and from work, and I think more importantly today, the amount of time that it takes. I think that has been the linchpin, that's been the tipping point for the conversation. I'll live far away from, if I work downtown, traditionally I've been willing to push out farther and farther away to find what I'm looking for in terms of schools, in terms of a price point for a home that gives me the amenities I want, when there was a reasonable cost attached to getting to my place of work. Now, the reasonable cost in terms of dollars is, gas is almost doubled the price of gasoline will probably be twice as much as it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Were there a large number of close-in suburbs with attractive schools, attractive public transportation?
Exactly. You're going to see, and those price points, unfortunately, are higher. So that's going to be a challenge for people.
Some of them strike me as a bargain, though. I live in Wilmette, and I've always thought that Wilmette was undervalued. Are there situations like that?
I think if you look around, you obviously like Wilmette. I think there are a number of close-in communities, and I think there are some great opportunities in the city of Chicago. I live in the city. I have 4 children. They all go to public schools. And whether it's public or private, there are great school choices here. And I think my children, even though I don't come from an urban background, my 14 and 15-year-old daughters know more about shopping on Michigan Avenue than my wife does. and can get to and from their schools if they need to on public transportation. And I think they really like the city.
Let's talk about that a bit, because it's not a choice that a lot of people make. Would you mind sharing where kids go to school? They're all in public school.
They're all in public school. My wife and I made a decision early on that it was important for our children to have a real life experience in terms of diversity in the community that they lived in. So I live in the Edgewater neighborhood. I have lived there for 20 years. I've seen the neighborhood completely morph. It is a much different place than when I first went to live there. But at the same time, it's very much the same. We like the diversity there, and the key thing was we felt it was important for our children going to school to see diversity, not only in terms of ethnic background, but economic background. And for us, the public schools are an easy way to do that. I think that there are similar solutions to that within the parochial school system in Chicago.
And the quality of the education is
I've
acceptable?
been very, very pleased with the quality of education. I think top 3 high schools in Illinois, last time I checked, New Trier was now number 4, and the other 3 are Chicago public high schools.
Magnet schools.
They're magnet schools, and I think that's the thing I hope will happen at the high school level will be that I believe last year in Chicago there were 25,000 applications for less than 10,000 slots in magnet high schools, and that saddens me to think that there were 15,000 plus kids who really had demonstrated through what they've accomplished so far academically that they want this education, they want this opportunity, and we haven't been able to provide it. But I've been very fortunate. My kids have gone to, they're in 4 different schools right now, 4 different children, and the focus in each one of those schools is different, but great education. And I think that the fact that more and more people are living in the city leads them to become more involved on the local level, and specifically there's a much greater focus on the academic world, and you see neighborhood schools that were marginal before transcended by the change in the neighborhood, because it has brought new people there who are willing to and have the ability to bring not only the individual focus in their families on education, but also perhaps some additional dollars to help, which is the big challenge, because even though if you look at the per student dollars spent, the reality of how much money actually makes it to the school is a different issue.
It really doesn't take very many parents to make a difference in that.
No, it doesn't. I mean, a few parents, I've seen several schools where I think a few parents have made a substantial difference in the school.
I was talking to a woman in Logan Square a few weeks ago who recruited 20 other moms like herself, and between them, who all had kids in first grade, and between them, they've essentially totally transformed the school.
Yeah, and you, one of the things that we looked at and we were somewhat concerned about was the, putting our child into a school where over half the kids are defined as being economically at the bottom of the scale. They're living at or below the poverty line in terms of their personal income. They're in subsidized housing. They're on state programs for food, and yet that school, the momentum that has been created inside that school by all the parents and the focus on education has really made a huge difference. And I'm really thrilled that my kids went to that school and were part of that.